The man we are going to be talking about today is a man who embodied the spirit of African revolution. A man who was unyielding in his encounters with colonizers. A man who had a healthy self-pride even in the face of defeat. Behanzin was born in 1845 and at the age of 45 years, he ascended the throne and was led to rule over Dahomey. He is often seen with his famous smoking pipe, which he claimed that even as a baby, there wasn't a minute in his life where he was not smoking. The name Behanzin means the egg of the world and the son of the shark. The Dahomey kingdom, which was in present-day Benin, was a powerful kingdom militarily and had large trade networks. Behanzin's army was made up of 15,000 men and 5,000 women, an army which Behanzin led to battle in resistance to France's attempts to expand their colonial territory. In 1890 the French demanded that Behanzin adhere to the treaty ceding Cotonou to France, which his father had signed. The French were hoping to have an ally in Behanzin, but that was not be. Behanzin told the French that the treaty was now null and void. Behanzin turned the tables and instead asked the French to pay 20,000 francs annually for the use of the port. When the French appealed for a compromise, Behanzin refused to entertain their suggestions. The French Secretary of Colonies sent several envoys with gifts for the king. Behanzin joyously brushed those gifts aside and said, "We have many of these in Dahomey." Another of the French envoys told Behanzin about the way the government operated in France. Behanzin took the pipe from his mouth, laughed long and loud before he answered. He told them that he preferred his own system of government, which was quicker, more original and more just. He also told the French that if they did not leave immediately, he himself would drive them out. King Behanzin had a motto that the angry shark will terrorize its enemy. And terrorize he did. King Behanzin began to purchase weapons from other nations. In 1892, the French began to block Behanzin from purchasing weapons from the Germans. Behanzin received a letter telling him to submit before any hostilities took place. Behanzin replied, "So France wishes war. Let her know that I am stronger and more determined than my father. I have not done anything to France that she should make war against me. I have never gone to France, either to their wives or daughters. I am ready to receive the whites when they wish to see me, but prompt to make war whenever they wish." The French declared war on Behanzin. They justified that war to their citizenry by characterizing the Dahamians as savages in need of civilizing. King Behanzin was a victim of intense propaganda, and the French portrayed him as a cruel and violent man who ruled with an iron fist. Sounds familiar? Up to now, propaganda is still being used on our righteous leaders. In 1892, French troops led by Colonel Dudes, a mixed-race man, invaded Dahomey. The battle was fierce and Behanzin's army was almost destroyed. Behanzin by now had lost a significant number of warriors. As the French army regrouped, Behanzin ordered his men to dig foxholes and trenches, and implored his people to fight to the death. As the French soldiers advanced, Behanzin's warriors would spring out and attack them. The battle grew increasingly strong against King Behanzin. Finally, King Behanzin sent a herd of cattle, some gold and some of Dahomey's finest pieces of sculptured wax. In return, the General Alfred Dodds sent biscuits and other gifts to Behanzin. Dodds said he was ready to make peace provided Behanzin would allow the French flag to fly over Abami. Behanzin flatly refused. Behanzin, not one to give up easily even though his army had suffered defeat, raised another small army and began war again. Dodds, who had returned to France, immediately returned to Abami with another French army which had black collaborators. He engaged Behanzin in the final Battle of Abami in 1894. Behanzin was defeated, but like before, he did avoid capture. One night long after, Behanzin coolly walked into the French camp, long pipe in his mouth, and gave himself up. The French exiled him to Martinique, an island in the Caribbean. The French government sought as much as possible to keep Behanzin away from his country, but also from his continent. An article published in July 10 of 1895 noted that Behanzin did not adapt well to Martinique's climate, and all those who visited it remember that the king never seemed to be warm enough. He was subsequently transported to Algeria until his death in December 10 of 1906. King Behanzin deserves to be in the African Hall of Revolutionary Fame for the devotion he held for his homeland and the heroic resistance he led against the French colonial forces. If you enjoyed this video, please share it so that more people can learn about Africa's glorious history.